So we are back checking in on some Dokkan. You might be wondering, like, why are you just in a random calendar, right? I mean, this is the month we're in, right? We're in the month of June. We're coming to the end of it. We're in the late stages of June, right around here as recording this. And we're coming up on pretty exciting news, which is the potential for a huge month, a huge uptick in Dokkan viability here on YouTube, Dokkan for yourself, things like that. Right now, we have a bustling DB saga going on, but as some of you might know, it hasn't exactly been the most hype thing in the world. Legends just got its Saiyan Saga celebration, and I would say that part 2 of Legends being Saiyan Saga has kicked up an interesting amount of talking points, controversy, hype, and I guess disappointment. And if you want my opinion on that, I always say I kind of don't care that much about hype posting. All right, is Vegeta Giant 8 form enough for like a anniversary unit slot? I think so, but I don't speak for some 15-year-old who has only watched Dragon Ball Super, right? Of course not. Is Kaioken Goku enough for an anniversary slot? I think so, but I don't speak for 15-year-old Timmy who has never seen anything but Dragon Ball Super, right? We understand these things. That said, a game like, and what was it? Is it Black Clover Online? Does anyone know if that's the one I'm thinking of? The one that just went end of service? We understand that these games need to generate a certain amount of currency until they are seen as no longer profitable, and then they get shipped off. Right now, Dokkan is in one of those months that you probably consider not profitable. We're keeping the lights on. But what do you do after what is, I assume, a pretty expected lull? Because I assume this is an expected lull. I don't think that Dokkan didn't see this one coming. I think we're essentially getting a Dokkan October month, whereas usually, you know, we'd see this in October. This is pretty normal. I don't think this is as normally dead as it usually is. I think this is especially dead, and that brings us to the point of even talking about this, which is I think this is especially dead because I think we're getting 6 LRs in a month. 6 of them. And you might be saying, no, they wouldn't do that again. And I kind of like, I don't know how to say this, but this is a unique amount of nothing we've gotten. We have gotten nothing, right? So Yamcha comes out, Easy A, he's okay. We get a new event, which is essentially, again, an extension of a pretty easy red zone. It's this Goku Giant 8 form, and it's fine. It's not great, it's not bad, it's just fine. But it's not really like special. No, you know, one stage, one bloop AoE little boss here, right? Interesting. For this entire Golden Week celebration here, nothing. No events, no content, just characters, and one of the characters is bad. And you might think Super Saiyan God SS Goku is like fine or whatever, sure. But for a Golden Week character, he's bad. And we just sort of go down and down and down the release dates here, and it's like, huh. Yeah, I guess that is kind of weird. Like we have gotten a surprisingly dim amount of genuine content, of playable content. And while Truth says things like, Truth will be the first one to say it's not the content, that's for like the people who are like on the game all the time. Characters are the hype decider. I think that Dokkan has been doing a thing where they balance it, right? They go two halves because they understand that content is a driving factor. It's why they keep trying things like Million Arena. It's why they keep trying things like Festival Battles. It's why they keep trying things like Battle Hard and Formidable Foes, right? We have gotten more zany events than ever before. I went through the entire new timeline. Is it here by any chance? Not here. I went through the entire timeline of what Dokkan has gotten for every single year, and guess what? This is a pretty uniquely flat year, I think, in terms of, or I'm sorry, not a unique flat year, a uniquely fat year. You know, this is bulky with attempts at generating new interest and content. This is not just some, oh, red zones here, you know, punch machine here, chain battle here, clash here. This has been a year where they have been trying a lot content-wise, and then they stopped. They just flat stopped. They front-loaded it to bits. They completely stopped. Tanabata has moved. If you remember last year, Tanabata is a really important landing space for new content. It will be no surprise at all to me if in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we're talking about the new hardest fight in the game. And I mean that more than festival battles, genuinely. And that's because there's just been a dead silence from Dokkan in terms of its repeatable like end game. And so we have here like I was just kind of looking up the Saiyan Saga debacle, right? But I'm sort of thinking 6 LRs. And if I were to pick them, like just starting here, while I actually have the Easy A's pulled up, it's one of the reasons that this is here, Ceremony of Revenge Super 17, is because he's due up for an Easy A. And he doesn't really have an obvious spot. What they could do is Easy A this character in a solo celebration, just kind of like as the one big character for that celebration and just be done with it. But why do that if you have the biggest celebration of the year, part 2, coming up, right? Why do that? And it's because GT has been treated insanely well, okay? GT has been treated insanely well. So characters like a Super Baby 2 might not be that far off. I mean, we're talking about a celebration that has since gotten us Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. It got us Super Saiyan 3 Goku that goes into Super Saiyan 4 Goku. It got us 2 premium GT Easy A's this year. This was the 6th, right? When was what was the third month? That was a Saiyan Day, right? Or Golden Week? One of them. Yeah. Sorry, I've completely lost track of time because Dokkan has just been so dead. I think that was the Saiyan Day celebration, but maybe I'm misremembering. Again, big time Easy A, and we have a potential Easy A coming again. And I don't know if you saw that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did you get chills? I hope so. That makes 6 characters. The 6th character for the Giant 8 Power Team. The 6th character for a team that has completely been dead in the water because it has been missing its 6th piece. That makes 6 characters for a potential DAIMA X GT celebration. And that makes 6 characters for a celebration that could potentially just be themed after the Super Saiyan 4 transformation. We get this guy, or we get adult Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and then we get some villains, right? So we get a Goma, and we know Goma's coming because he's in game, right? We know he's coming because he's in game. He has an animation. He's in game. He's coming. We get maybe Super Baby. Maybe we get Super 17. Maybe we could even go as far and as decroded as getting another Omega Shenron. And while I do think it's a little too early for another DFE Omega Shenron, what I could potentially see is taking one of the DFE slots, and let's say Omega Shenron leads GT bosses, and let's call him like Transformation Boost, right? You know, it's just, there's a lot of transforming villains one. I mean, you look at this list immediately and you just see villains. What that also leads him to is leading Cooler's team. And that's because if you might remember, this is a huge swath of Easy A's that needs to hit, right? The thing is, I've said before, I kind of don't want them to mess with the Cooler celebration. I would prefer a Wicked Bloodline celebration. I would prefer a Wicked Bloodline celebration to come out of left field and crush. However, if they're going to do this, what they could do is make them to the same level. And no, not that guy. Oh my god, if they made him to that level, Jesus. What they could do is make them to the same level, treat them with the same interest as they treated Evoken, or I should just say Evolution Blue and UI Goku. If they do that, then maybe I'm no longer upset by them touching these 4, right? And remember, these characters don't need much. These are widely damaged characters who's in a meta where damage matters a lot right now, and characters like Cooler and characters like the duo would already have pretty obvious setups and help out pretty obvious teams. That said, we don't know what the meta is bringing. So yeah, I think the more I sort of look at this celebration in totality, the more I'm like, they had to be trumping up Giant 8 power for something, right? They had to. And the potential characters we could see from it are not only really strong, but just really relevant still, right? I think adult Vegeta makes it into it this time, and he just becomes one of those characters who's like, what should I say here? He's one of those characters who deserves either the Carnival or the DFE spot. So maybe we're looking at like a DFE Goku, DFE Goma, because Goma, and that's a big one. Goma needs to be the big boy. Goma can't be Carnival. Goma needs big boy. What we can do is we make the GT side of the celebration our Carnivals. We could give Super Baby 2 like I would like him to lead artificial life forms. And you might look at this and be like, oh my god, artificial life forms fucking dead, don't do it. The thing is, artificial life forms needs a top tier character. Dokkan's a mission game, and what this could mean is if you base him strongly around like powerful artificial life forms, right? What you then open up is the Android Saga celebration later. And I'm not wrong, right? The androids are on artificial life forms. They should be. Yeah, he is, obviously. The rest of them are, right? Yeah, so Super 17 here, 17 here. I would love an artificial life forms celebration later down the road. But if we just start with Baby, that seems sick. You know? That seems sick. I'm super into this idea of getting really strong GT representation out of the way. What it then does as we go into the sort of lesser celebrations remaining in the year, things like what Tanabata should be. So let's say, again, we get our GT celebration, we got a big blowout Daima and Super Saiyan 4. Just the theme is Super Saiyan 4. Come August something, or come like September when Tanabata rolls around, then we could look at something like movies. You know what I mean? Can I actually go back and find the release schedule of Tanabata? Sorry, I'm so interested. Can I go by and find the release schedule of Tanabata? So Tanabata would have been back here somewhere. Here he is. So this character comes out. Later on, this character comes out. Who'd they EZA? They double EZA'd here. Sub EZAs. And then this is Pepe Gals. Okay. So a double EZA right here. A third EZA. They could easily make that the Android celebration. We get a Cell. They could easily make that the Goku versus Frieza celebration. We EZA Golden Frieza and then the RF Blues. They could easily make that the movie celebration. We get the Gammas. I do think there's some stuff worth saving. They could easily do a future celebration. You know what I'm saying? Like Tanabata being Goku Black, or fusing Zamasu, or just based around future double LRs looks huge, right? So I think I was sort of opposed to the idea of bringing out, sort of disrupting this cooler celebration. But if they want to make them to the same level as Evo, Vegeta, and UI Goku, and then start giving us shit like Android Saga, start giving us stuff like maybe Future Trunks standalone LR, tank top Trunks that kills 18, like, I'm good with that, right? That seems pretty good. Tanabata, like, look at these Tanabata options. They're crazy. Movies seem so packed. We could finally get the Gohan and Bojack celebration, which I know you could say, like, that's not as hype, but, we would have already just gotten Daima. But we could do that. We could do Wicked Bloodlines. We could do Future Saga. We could do Cell. We could do, there's 2 different movies here. We could do Minosha and the, what's his name? Hachiak, right? The Hachiak movie. Like, yeah, I think so. But that does it for me speculating. Well, that being said, like if you like the video, subscribe to the club. We all gonna make it, and peace.